Have you ever wondered where the story of Frankenstein's monster really came from? It's not just a brilliant work of fiction. The truth is far stranger and more terrifying, rooted in the bizarre scientific experiments and social horrors of the early 19th century. Let's unravel the real-life inspirations behind one of the greatest horror stories ever told. It all began in 1816, the year without a summer. A massive volcanic eruption in Indonesia blanketed the globe in ash, causing bizarre weather, crop failures, and a gloomy apocalyptic atmosphere across Europe. Trapped indoors at the Villa Diodati in Switzerland, a young Mary Shelley, her future husband Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, and their friend John Polidori passed the time by reading ghost stories. Byron then challenged them all to write their own. Mary struggled for an idea until a nightmare, a waking dream, sparked the image of a monstrous creation and its horrified creator. But what fueled that nightmare? The answer lies in the science of her day. The talk of the town was a phenomenon called galvanism. An Italian scientist named Luigi Galvani had discovered that by applying an electrical current to the legs of a dead frog, he could make them twitch and kick as if they were alive. This was a spectacle. Galvani's own nephew, Giovanni Aldini, took the show on the road, performing public demonstrations on the corpses of executed criminals. Imagine a packed theater, watching as Aldini attached electrodes to a recently deceased body. The corpse's eyes would fly open, its jaw would clench, and its limbs would convulse violently. To the terrified public, it looked as though the dead were being brought back to life. These demonstrations blurred the line between science and the supernatural, making the idea of reanimation seem dangerously possible. This was the electrical spark that ignited Mary Shelley's imagination. Could a human being be assembled from parts and jolted back to life? But where would a scientist like Victor Frankenstein get the body parts? This question leads us to another dark reality of the era: body snatching. In the early 1800s, medical science was advancing rapidly, and schools needed a constant supply of human corpses for anatomical study. The law, however, only allowed for the dissection of executed criminals, which wasn't nearly enough to meet the demand. This created a gruesome black market. Gangs of resurrection men would prowl cemeteries at night, digging up freshly buried bodies to sell to anatomists. It was a macabre, criminal industry born out of scientific necessity. The public was both fascinated and horrified. On one hand, they were eager for medical progress. On the other, they were terrified that their loved ones might be dug up from their graves. This public anxiety is woven directly into Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein's desperate, secretive work of assembling his creature from stolen remains mirrors the grim reality of the grave robbers who supplied the anatomical theaters of the day. These theaters themselves were public spectacles, where paying audiences could watch dissections, feeding a morbid curiosity about the inner workings of the human body. The ethical nightmare of using human remains without consent was a very real problem, one that Shelley's novel explores in terrifying detail. Beyond the specific science and crimes, the entire intellectual climate of the time, the Age of Enlightenment, played a massive role. This was an era of incredible optimism about human potential. Thinkers and scientists believed that through reason and discovery, humanity could conquer nature, eliminate disease, and perhaps even defeat death itself. There were early primitive experiments in blood transfusion and organ transplantation. Scientists were exploring the very mechanics of life. But with this ambition came a growing fear. What if we went too far? What are the unintended consequences of our creations? This anxiety is the very heart of the novel. Victor Frankenstein is the ultimate Enlightenment man. He is brilliant, ambitious, and believes he can unlock the secrets of life. But in his hubris, he creates something he cannot control, a monster that ultimately destroys him. Shelley's story serves as a powerful cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked ambition, a warning that scientific progress without moral responsibility can lead to monstrous outcomes. The world outside the laboratory was also a source of horror. The Industrial Revolution was transforming society at a breathtaking pace. People were flooding into cities, which were becoming overcrowded, unsanitary, and rife with disease. Industrial accidents were common, leaving many workers maimed or deformed. These individuals were often cast out, feared, and treated as social pariahs. This social reality is reflected in the creature's experience. He is not born evil. He is made a monster by how society treats him. When people see his grotesque appearance, they react with fear and violence. He is abandoned by his creator and rejected by everyone he meets. His rage and desire for revenge are born from loneliness and despair. In this way, the creature becomes a powerful symbol for all the outcasts of society: the poor, the deformed, the abandoned, those who are judged and condemned based on their appearance. The novel also taps into a new anxiety of the industrial age, the fear of technology running amok. Just as a factory machine could become a destructive force, Frankenstein's creation, a product of unhallowed arts, turns against its maker. So why does Frankenstein still resonate so deeply with us over 200 years later? Because the questions it asks are more relevant than ever. Mary Shelley's core message is timeless. Creation demands responsibility. We see echoes of Victor Frankenstein's dilemma in our most advanced modern sciences. When we talk about artificial intelligence, are we creating minds that we won't be able to control? When we discuss gene editing with CRISPR technology, what are the ethical lines we shouldn't cross? As we venture into synthetic biology and the creation of artificial life, we are walking in Victor's footsteps, wrestling with the same fundamental questions about life, death, and the limits of our own power. The story of Frankenstein is not just a gothic horror tale. It's a profound reflection on the human condition. It reminds us that our greatest creations can become our greatest monsters if we fail to consider the consequences and abandon our moral responsibilities. It is a story that will continue to haunt us as long as we dare to play God.